Do you know who purchased India's first supercomputer? You might think it would be ISRO for one of its space missions, or maybe some government agency, or perhaps a tech company. But you would be wrong. India's first supercomputer was purchased in 1970 by Asian Paints. Yes, you heard it right. Asian Paints, which went on to be India's largest painting company with a market share of over 50%. Its stock price has rallied more than 25,000 times since its IPO in 1982. While the combined revenue of its competitors like Berger Paints, Indigo Paints and Nerolac stands at less than 25,000 crores, the revenue for Asian Paints as of the last financial year is nearly 30,000 crores. But why? What is the story of Asian Paints and why is it so successful? Welcome back to another video of our channel and to our 15th business case study. In this video, let us uncover the story of Asian Paints and the 3 reasons behind their success. Asian Paints was started in 1942 by Champaklal Choksy and his friends. What made this time very unique is that the British government in India then placed a ban on importing paints during the World War II. This called for a great opportunity to start a paint company. However, even then, competition from domestic players like Shalimar Paint was very intense. And this brings us to the first strategy behind their success, the Blue Ocean strategy. The Blue Ocean strategy is about entering a new market with relatively lesser competition. Within the paint industry, there are 2 segments, the decorative retail segment and the industrial segment. The industrial segment is about supplying paint to factories, industries and companies, largely a B2B business. The industrial paints business, however, was price driven and whichever company offered the lowest price usually got the business. This meant lower margins and a lot of competition. Decorative paints, however, were different. Think about it when we paint our homes. Cost is obviously a priority, but we are more willing to spend a little more for higher quality products or an established brand. Champak Bhai thus figured that entering the decorative retail segment and building an established brand here would make a lot of sense and it could also ensure high margins. What also makes this segment very lucrative is that it will grow faster with increasing income per capita in India and also an increase in housing to accommodate the increasing population. And these were the various reasons why he chose the decorative retail segment. Now within this segment, Asian Paints also showed tremendous product innovation, which is the second reason behind their success. They came up with a brand new product called the washable distemper. Now the paint industry back then primarily had 2 types of products, the dry distemper and the plastic emulsion. The dry distemper was cheap, but it was also not the highest quality. It had serious problems like its bad smell and that it would peel off really fast. On the other hand, the plastic emulsion was of very high quality, but it was also very expensive. Now, the washable distemper had the advantages of the plastic emulsion, and in terms of cost, it was just slightly more than the dry distemper. And guess what? It was a hit. Asian Paints thus emerged as a giant in the decorative retail segment. Soon, by 1967, Asian Paints became India's biggest paint company. Now coming to the third strategy behind their rise, which is also the most important and most interesting, their supply chain strategy. There are 2 things to talk about over here. Firstly, their distribution strategy and secondly, their demand forecasting. By the 1970s, Asian Paints had totally gotten rid of all the middlemen like distributors and wholesalers. They had began supplying their paints directly to the dealers. By the 1970s, Asian Paints completely removed the middlemen like distributors and wholesalers, and they began supplying their paints directly to the dealers. This helped them immensely with their margins, and as of today, Asian Paints reaches over 70,000 dealers without any middlemen in place. In terms of their distribution strategy, they also did something else which is truly remarkable. So in the painting business, tinting machines play a very important role. Tinting machines are used to produce a lot of shades and colors of paints using just a few colors. So basically, a dealer who has a tinting machine does not need to store multiple colors and does not need to contact the manufacturer every single time there's a demand for a certain color. They can just use these tinting machines to produce that color of paint. It works on a concept that we've all probably learned in class 1 and 2. The 3 primary colors, red, yellow and blue, along with black and white, which can be used to produce almost every other color. For example, if you want green, just mix blue and yellow. For grey, all you have to do is mix white and black, and so on. Now, these tinting machines are very expensive. While other companies often expected the dealer to bear the cost of purchasing these tinting machines, Asian Paints used to give these tinting machines to its dealers on a lease. This also helped Asian Paints further increase their dealer network. And as a result of this strategy, today Asian Paints has deployed more tinting machines than all its competition combined. That is genius, isn't it? But now coming to something which is equally exciting, demand forecasting. And this is where we take into consideration the supercomputers. Asian Paints purchased a supercomputer 10 years before ISRO and 21 years before any other company in India. These supercomputers give Asian Paints great data science capabilities. With the help of demand forecasting abilities, they know how much paint needs to be supplied to each dealer and when. And this way they can avoid both stockouts and high inventory, both for the dealers and themselves. This means greater efficiency, and this is very evident in their numbers. Asian Paints generates a revenue of 100 crores per depot as against 40 crores per depot in the case of Nerolac. Similarly, in terms of revenue per factory as well, while it is 1500 crores per factory in the case of Asian Paints, it is just 700 crores in the case of Nerolac. It is this efficiency brought in by Asian Paints' incredible supply chain strategy, along with their entry into the decorative paint segment and the product innovation that they've showed, which is the reason behind their unprecedented rise. In the recent times, expanding further into their focus on the decorative retail segment, Asian Paints has also entered another business, which is the home renovation and interior designing business. Not only is this a high margin business with immense growth potential, but it also becomes another avenue for Asian Paints to further sell their paints. However, things are not all rosy. Competition is picking up, with Aditya Birla Group and Pidilite entering the painting business as well, with Birla Opus and Haisha Paints respectively. Will Asian Paints be able to maintain their margins and their dominance in the painting industry going forward? Well, only time will tell. But before we end this video, let me mention the book Unusual Billionaires by Saurabh Mukherjee, which has been the primary source of my research. If it interests you, do definitely check that book out. And for now, I really hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, do check out some of our previous case studies as well. And as always, thank you so much for watching.